This is Becca with Free Tours by Foot. Thank you for joining us for Lincoln's last day. April 14th marks the 155th anniversary of Lincoln's assassination. So we're taking you back in time, sharing with you the events that led up to that very fateful evening. Now, I want to talk to you though, not about President Abraham Lincoln, but about the attack on Secretary of State William Seward, which was part of John Wilkes Booth's larger plan. Now we have to remember that on the night of April 14th, John Wilkes Booth wasn't just intending to kill the President of the United States. He had planned 3 simultaneous assassinations, all to take place at the same time: the murders of the President, the Vice President, and the Secretary of State. Now, John Wilkes Booth knew he would be at Ford's Theater taking care of President Lincoln, so he had to send 2 other men to take care of the Secretary of State. The men that he sent was a man by the name of Lewis Powell. Lewis Powell was very violent, aggressive young man. He was the only member of Booth's conspiracy to actually have served in the Civil War. He fought for the Confederacy. He had friends and family killed by Union soldiers, so Powell has a very personal vendetta against the Union government. The second man that's sent along with Powell is a young man named Davy Harold. He's a native to the Washington, D.C. area. He was the son of a pharmacist. His role was not particularly violent or aggressive. Davy Harold's role was going to be very simple. He was going to wait outside of the Seward home. Powell was going to go inside, do what needed to be done, and then Davy Harold was tasked with helping Powell escape the city. Powell was not familiar with the area. Davy Harold was. Now keep in mind that everything that we're going to talk about happens at the same time that John Wilkes Booth is at Ford's Theater with President Abraham Lincoln. Powell and Harold arrive outside of the Seward home around 9:30. They're going to wait outside of the house for more than 30 minutes. They're going to be there long enough to see people coming and going from Seward's home. This includes Seward's doctors. Secretary of State William Seward was in very bad shape on April 14th. He had been in a carriage accident just a few days prior that had very badly damaged him. He'd broken his jaw in 2 places. He had a broken rib, and he was really, really badly hurt. So he was bedridden in a great deal of pain. This might make him seem like an easy target, but Powell knew that he would be surrounded by family, friends, and well-wishers, as evidenced by the people coming and going from the house. So Powell knows he's going to have to cut down anyone who stands between him and the secretary. Lewis Powell is going to walk right up to the front door of Seward's home at 10 o'clock. He has concocted a little ruse to get himself into the house. He has a box that's wrapped up looking like something a doctor might deliver, and he's going to tell the doorman, William Bell, that he is here to deliver medicine to the Secretary of State. It takes a little bit of maneuvering. Powell's eventually going to push his way past Bell and make his way up the stairs, but Powell continues to insist that he has something to deliver to give to the Secretary of State. Now, as he makes his way up the stairs, he's going to encounter a member of the Seward family, Seward's son, Frederick. They're going to go through this whole little charade again. I have medicine to deliver to the Secretary of State, and Frederick Seward's going to find himself getting increasingly frustrated. Inside the secretary's bedroom, his daughter Fanny, 20 years old, is going to be sitting by his bedside. She's going to hear men arguing in the hallway. She's not too thrilled about this, so she's going to open up the door, asking what's going on. Frederick is going to try to shush her, try to get her to be quiet, but Powell will ask, "Is the secretary asleep?" And Fanny says, "Almost." So unknowingly, Fanny has now confirmed the location of her father to the man who's been sent there to kill him. Lewis Powell, curiously, is going to turn around. He's going to start walking down the stairs as though he's going to leave. The doorman is following along with him. Frederick is behind. But before Frederick Seward knows what's happening, Lewis Powell is going to turn around, take a pistol, and stick it right into Frederick Seward's face, and he pulls the trigger. Nothing happens. The gun doesn't fire. Now, he had a 6-cylinder pistol, so he could have fired again, but Lewis Powell makes a choice. He decides to lift that gun up, and he bashes it against Frederick Seward's skull. Now, Frederick is going to be very badly injured. The doorman who witnesses this attack is going to turn around, and he's going to run out into the street screaming for help, drawing lots of attention to the Seward home. Fanny Seward hears this ruckus outside. She opens the bedroom door again, and she sees her brother being beaten to near death. She's going to try to hold the bedroom door shut, try to protect her father. Lewis Powell is going to come barreling in. He's going to throw Fanny against the wall. He's going to see the Secretary of State lying in bed, and Lewis Powell's going to jump on top of him. Lewis Powell's gun is no longer functioning. It's been broken against Frederick Seward's face, but he does also have a knife. So he takes the knife, and with sort of a big swing, he brings the knife down as hard as he can into the pillow next to the Secretary of State's head. So he misses. He's gonna try again, another big arching swing, but he's gonna get behind the Secretary of State's head, so a second miss. Now he's getting increasingly desperate. He starts slashing as hard and fast as he can into the chest and throat. What Lewis Powell will hear, as well as Fanny and his army nurse, is a very terrible sound. Clink, clink, clink. Unbeknownst to Lewis Powell, the Secretary of State is wearing a brace. Because of all the injuries that William Seward had received in that carriage incident, he was actually wearing a brace made of metal and canvas to sort of hold together the broken jaw and the broken rib. So that brace probably played a role in saving Seward's life. It certainly helped deflect the knife from those very sensitive areas. Now, this is still a vicious attack. Seward is slashed across the face. Powell is just slashing at everybody who comes near him. This has become a very confusing, bloody scene, and it's happening in the dark, so people aren't sure where William Seward has ended up. Fanny is gonna run to the window. She's gonna throw the window open and start screaming as loud as she can into the street to warn people of what's happening. Powell realizes at this point he needs to go, unsure of whether or not he's actually successfully killed the Secretary of State. He's going to exit the bedroom and make his way down the stairs, but as he does, he's going to encounter a messenger by the name of Hansel. Hansel worked for the State Department. He was there to deliver correspondence for the Secretary. He encounters this man running down the stairs with a bloody knife. Hansel kind of does what I guess everyone would do. He starts to beat a retreat. And at first he thinks he's safe until he feels the searing pain in his back. Powell had slashed him from behind, severing his spinal cord, paralyzing him for life. Powell emerges from the Seward home. He's waving a bloody knife, and according to witnesses, he's screaming, I'm mad, which back then would have been like, I'm crazy, stay away from me. But I actually like to think he's maybe a little angry, because at this point, when he looks out into the street, he's expecting to see his accomplice, Davy Harold, but Davy Harold is gone. At some point, most likely as people are screaming and leaving the house, Davy Harold gets onto his horse and he rides off. Davy Harold is going to meet at the rendezvous point for these conspirators on his own. He's gonna leave Powell completely up a creek. Powell's gonna have no way to know where to go or how to get out of the city. Powell does manage to escape the scene of the crime, and he's gonna be on the run for 3 days, and he never leaves Washington, D.C. That's kind of an incredible thing. If you spend time in D.C., it's not that big, but Powell finds himself just going in circles and circles and circles. Eventually, Lewis Powell will make his way to the Surratt boarding house located on H Street. Mary Surratt has a son, John Surratt, who's a known Confederate spy, and Mary has hosted John Surratt and some of his friends like John Wilkes Booth and other members of this conspiracy. How much Mary knew about the activities of these men in her boarding house is still debated today. Lewis Powell shows up, and it turns out they are already investigating the boarding house because they have already known, the government at this point has discovered that this is a prime meeting location. It would later be called the nest that hatched the rotten egg. Lewis Powell arrives, the army is there, the investigators are there, and he now has to explain why he's at this boarding house in the middle of the night. So he says he's come to dig a ditch for the widow Surratt. That's a little suspicious because they notice he's dressed really too nicely and it's the middle of the night. So they ask Mary Surratt if she recognizes him, if she knows this man, if she's asked him to come do an errand or chore for him. And Mary Surratt looks at Lewis Powell, a man she's met in the gaslight, and for whatever reason, whether she really didn't know or she's lying, she says, by God, I have never laid eyes on that man before in my life. This is now all very suspicious. They're gonna arrest everybody, including Lewis Powell, and it turns out very luckily for them, Lewis Powell was indeed the man who had committed these terrible crimes at the Seward home. So they're able to capture Lewis Powell 3 days later. Now, the good news. William Seward survived this attack. It was a brutal attack. He's near death, great loss of blood, a great physical assault on him, but he does survive. He'll continue to live a long life serving as Secretary of State. He was scarred across his face from Powell's knife, and you'll notice in photographs later in his life, he often turned to hide that scar. Now, his son, Frederick Seward, was in a coma, but he came out of the coma and lived a nice long life. So Frederick Seward also survives this attack. Hansel, the messenger, survives, although he'll be unable to walk again. And the other men in the room who were stabbed all survive, and Fanny was unharmed in the attack. Now, there will still be some tragedy in Seward's family and his life, but if you want to hear a little bit about that, you're going to have to book one of our Lincoln Assassination walking tours. So again, I'm Becca with Free Tours by Foot. I am so glad to be able to share a little bit with you about what happened on the night of April 14th. Continue to tune in throughout the day. We're going to be posting videos about Booth, the conspiracy, and at 10 o'clock, we'll be posting about what happened at Ford's Theater the night of Lincoln's assassination. So thank you so much. And if you have any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them.